You get girls under the cover to cuddle them with no clothes on. I get girls under the cover to show them my light-up dinosaur collection. Mindy Kaling, otherwise known as the internet's punching bag for the better part of a month now. Initially, this video was meant to be about the Velma show, because I just watched a couple episodes quite recently, and then I just saw the sheer amount of videos that were made on that show, and I just straight up thought to myself, ugh. There's nothing I can add to the conversation that's going to be worth anyone's time, or even worth my own time, because I just get annoyed by it. Plus, I didn't want to risk becoming one of those PNG movie critics. You know, those stupid talking head things that bubble up and down, who make jokes as dry as saltine crackers, but yet they have the right to judge other people's art. Ha! Hey, what's up, radical racists? It's your favorite boy, Radical Rex, here with another anime review. Now, I know the hottest new item of this year is Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and although it has glowing reviews, I'm gonna make wild and baseless points just to sound different from everybody else. So get comfortable, this video is gonna be 30 minutes long and absolutely plastered with ad pre-rolls. Also, if you hear me make the same point 5 times in a row, it's not because I'm lazy and don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I really want to emphasize my point. Now let's get into this poopy doopy stupid review. However, something insanely interesting did crop up during my investigation, and that is the fact that Mindy Kaling's brother did Blackface in order to get into medical school. Now, this is a particularly old story. In fact, it came out when I was still an infant in 2015, but seeing as this is probably the most she's ever going to be talked about for the rest of her life, I may as well suck and gag on the algorithm's hot sticky keywords. Actress Mindy Kaling's brother says that he posed as a black man years ago to get into medical school, and that the experience opened his eyes up to what he calls hypocrisy of affirmative action. Dude, that's awesome. I love it. I do something incredibly shady and absolutely 110% racist. But I only did it to point out the hypocrisy. The system is flawed. That's why I shaved my head and walked around going, "What's up, dog?" The revelation comes as VJ Cockle, who is an Indian descent, is pitching a book about his experience as a hard-partying college frat boy who discovered the seriousness and complexity of America's racial problems while posing as a black man. I have never in my life seen such an alpha partier. This dude looks like he's insane at a rage. Are you kidding me? On the website almostblack.com, if I click on this, is this gonna be porn? No, it's just his book. Did he actually darken his skin though? Because I can see like he's a shade browner. Cockle Ingham says he hatched the plan in 1998 after realizing in college that his grades weren't good enough to get him into med school as an Indian American. So I shaved my head, trimmed my long Indian eyelashes, and applied to medical school as a black man. What is happening in the Kaling household? Did you guys' parents just raise you to hate your own culture? Because every single time Mindy Kaling's in like anything, it's always at the detriment to Indian Americans. Like honestly, I challenge you to go watch one of her programs without fail. There'll be a reference to how Indian American girls have hairy arms. Not my words, don't take me out of context. She'll constantly talk about how ugly Indian American girls are, and she always has something incredibly negative to say about her own people. And now her brother doesn't like his own people enough that he's actually pretending to be a black coat. It just seems like a strange pattern. My change in appearance was so startling that my own fraternity brothers didn't recognize me at first. He says he joined an organization for black students and applied to schools using his middle name Jojo. Oh, bro, it gets worse every single time you talk. Why would you tell on yourself like this? Plan had some drawbacks, said Cockle Ingram, who describes himself now as a professional resume writer, interview coach, and graduate school application consultant. None of which seem like real jobs or whatever. Cops harassed me. Store clerks accused me of shoplifting. Women were either scared of me or couldn't keep their hands off of me. What started as a devious ploy to gain admission to medical school turned into a twisted social experiment. I just can't. He can't help but tell on himself as he's doing this interview. Yeah, I had this horrible experience while doing Blackface. All these cops harassed me. All of these store clerks they wouldn't serve me. And women, you know, obviously because I'm black, couldn't help but touch this chocolate thunder. It's just he has no social awareness of what he's saying. It's awesome. I'm not trying to be rude, but I just don't believe that any woman actually approached you. Because you don't necessarily, this is me trying to be kind, possess a single trait that's conventionally attractive. Besides your jawline, that's pretty good. So when you say things like the women couldn't keep their hands off me, I'm assuming that's just you relying on a stereotype. It just goes to show that anybody can be racist, and I think that's kind of nice. Like, a lot of people have this weird misconception that just because someone's brown, they can't be racist towards a black dude, or vice versa, when that's simply not the case. We all have hate in our hearts for people we don't understand. For me personally, I dislike Alaskans. I know what they did. I saw them. I'm not allowed to tell you, but I can give you a hint. Rhymes with 9/11. This actually kind of reminds me of that show Welcome to Chippendales. It's a new program that got released with Camille Nanjiani, and it's about the first male strip club ever opened up in Los Angeles, and in particular the owner himself. And what's so cool about it is they actually highlight how he was racist towards other people, and I appreciate that. It gets a bit tedious seeing like the white dude who's like, oh, slavery. I want to see more minorities hating on other minorities. I demand even more discrimination in Hollywood for my viewing pleasure. He says it worked despite a relatively mediocre 3.1 college grade point average and a good but not great score of 31 on his medical college admission test. He claims he was wooed by several top medical schools. He even posts documents on his website to bolster his claims, including an enthusiastic letter from the dean at Immeror University School of Medicine, congratulating him on his excellent scores. He says it worked despite a relatively mediocre 3.1 college grade point average and a good but not great score of 31 on his medical college admission test. There's little evidence to suggest that his posturing as a black applicant helped him to get into these schools. First, there is no point of comparison. He never applied for medical school as an Indian American. He was waitlisted at 4 schools and only got into 1 before dropping out after 2 years. So does this mean he walked around in blackface for the entirety of 2 years? That's a genuine question. Was he just like walking around pretending to be from like the Bronx? Because surely you would get caught out by someone eventually. What if ironically it was like a big Scooby-Doo mask reveal? He's just chilling in class one day. Professor, I must interrupt you. You see, I have a revelation. For I am not Jojo Washington, as you well know, but rather Cockface! He says his story shows how affirmative action destroys the dreams of millions of Indian Americans, Asian Americans, and white applicants for employment and higher education. Now, to be fair to Mindy, her brother's sins shouldn't affect her reputation. It shouldn't destroy it. She's doing that perfectly fine on her own by just being herself. Although I do think it's strange that one family has been able to spawn 2 children who produce nothing but pure evil. Just their impact in the world has been nothing but negative with everything they do. Unlike me, because legally you have to subscribe. I love you all. I'll see you later. Bye bye.